Hey, what is up, everyone? Happy Thursday. We are back with the HappyRun G50, and we got another problem. Now, this is not on Bryson, so I'm not gonna be like Bryson bad. No, I'm not gonna do that. But his younger brother did try to ride this bike. He's a little bit smaller than Bryson, and this is a heavy ass bike. Not gonna lie. So essentially what ended up happening was when his little brother tried to take the bike out, I think what happened was he was trying to get on it and it leaned over a little too much and he couldn't hold it up and it fell over. And it fell over off the sidewalk onto the street. So a couple things happened. So first thing is, you guys can see it right there. So the housing broke on the headlight. And this was all bent up right here. Okay, so what I did was I went in, I did a little bit of surgery. I'm gonna see if I can hit this with a little flat black and make that look nice, because the glue finally cured, and so there is a little bit of like residue there. So I'm gonna try to hit that with a quick dose of flat black and just clean that up. And then I was over at the shop. I went and bent the brackets back and then hit them with some flat black so they look nice. Right, so we did that. The other problem we're running into, though, this is kind of what I want to talk about here. So we've got a little bit of an issue when it comes to the bike when it hit the ground on this side. So first and foremost, as you can see, the derailleur protector bracket that goes right here, right, and it what it does is it protects the derailleur. And you can already see right there, it hit right there. And then down here, it also hit. Okay, so what's happening is it's causing some drivetrain issues, okay? The other thing that I discovered is, and I only have two hands, so I'm not gonna be able to demonstrate this, but what happens is if you lift up the rear tire and you hit the throttle, you're gonna notice there's some wobbling going on with the gears. They're doing a little bit of this right here. Primarily these two down here, and these are closest to where the impact point was, right? So now what we got a situation. I'm gonna see if it'll do it. Okay, so what'll happen is that, as you can see, I can freewheel it, but then there's times where actually the sprocket locks up and then it causes the chain to kink like immediately, right? So it's freewheeling now. Let's see if I can get it to do it, because if I take it out and ride it, it's like I could do this and it won't do it. And that's because what I did was I went in and lubed everything up really well. So when the bike sits, when I freewheel it now, you'll notice that it won't do that. However, when the motor's on or you're applying some torque via the pedal, this thing wants to lock up. It won't freewheel at certain points. It'll lock, and then that causes the chain to just seize, okay? And this is the problem that we're having now. So what I'm thinking is this rear wheel is gonna have to come off, and I'll have to use this. Pardon the mess and stuff. I had to harvest a bunch of parts from these old EXRs to build new builds and stuff, so just pardon the chaos. So you use one of these tools right here, right? This is to remove the free wheel in the cassette right here. So I'm thinking what I'm gonna have to do is pull the rear motor off and see if I can take the cassette apart, put it back, and get it to freewheel. There's a bend though, and I really do think that what's happened here is that there's probably some damage to the freewheel mechanism, like the bearing, and that's what's causing it to bind under load. Because when I do it like this, after I hit everything with some lube, and I also readjusted the derailleur, because I think it got pushed out of alignment, so I had readjusted it. And so, because before when I was doing this yesterday, it would kink. Now it doesn't, but when I took it out and rode it, it was starting to do it again. Not as frequently or as bad as yesterday, but it was doing it nonetheless. The other issue I'm seeing here, this dude's got some massive chain stretch. I want you to look at this. Like, this chain is super, okay, super duper. I can almost just pull it off of here. If I spun this around, I could probably yank this off. If I just tilted the bottom of the derailleur up, I could probably literally just take the chain off just like this. Okay, this chain is super stretched. That is another issue. So we got a couple things, but I just kind of wanted to go over this for people that maybe, you know, if you have a little shop or something, or you know, if you're how you kind of diagnose the issue on something like this, right? This is a hub motor e-bike with a derailleur on it, and we've got chain issues. Okay, so as I mentioned before, we've got some bending action going back there. If I spun that motor, you'd see these things wobbling a little bit like this. Okay, and I think that in addition to that wobbling when it went down, something happened to the freewheel bearing in there, and that's what's causing it to bind when it's under load, regardless of whether you pedal or you hit the throttle. It's gonna spin, right? And then when it's supposed to freewheel, okay, so that means that this part isn't moving. So that means what happens is that it has to freewheel, and when it doesn't freewheel and this isn't moving, the chain binds up. So this is just for, well, largely for documentation, and also how to diagnose when something like this happens, right? So we're gonna do a little bit more work. I'm gonna like talk to Bryson's dad, let him know, man, okay, I'm gonna have to do some surgery. And this chain definitely, you can see it sagging right there in the middle. This chain definitely has to go, dude. It's way stretched. Look at that. It is so stretched. Look at that shit. It is stretched. I might look at the derailleur's hardly moving, but look where the chain is. Cheap chain. That's a cheap ass chain. Okay, you guys. I will give you guys an update when I get the next one. Peace.